I listen to a year episode from a year previously just to see the progression
Yeah.
because I want to get better every single time.
Exactly.
That's important to me.
Yeah.
Um, I want every time I put an episode out for it to mean something because I don't. The thing is, a lot of times I look at it like this: if you're doing a podcast or you put out content in general, media, it's either you're informing or you're entertaining. The
Thank you.
best mediums can do both. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Welcome to the Content Legends Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica, but you can call me Jaw, which is Jessica Advocates Wellness. Content Legends provides the behind the scenes look, history, feel, and emotion behind content. Interviewing content creators, researching, and reviewing content of old and how it can be used to tell stories of new. Join us as we explore how content rhythm is life and life is rhythm. Let's make it happen. Hey there, and welcome to the Content Legends Podcast. Thank you so much for listening and hanging out with me today. So, today I wanted to jump into and discuss PR, promotion marketing, and online digital marketing. Right? So, I wanted to talk to you all about what's going on in our current market, and hopefully, this will be useful and valuable to you, and some of my thoughts about all of this good stuff. So first of all, I want to jump into our first segment, which I like to call What's Tickling You Cupcake. So I'm the cupcake, and pretty much what's tickling me right now are challenges. I swear to you, if I see another challenge, I am going to scream, okay? There's the mannequin challenge, there's the you name it challenge, and there's a couple of other challenges out there that my teens have told me about that I haven't had the chance to really look into. However, right now in the current state, that's really tickling me. I mean, it's really bothering me. I'm like, ugh. And I'm online. I'm an online digital marketer. I guess you can quote unquote, right? And I see even when their challenges are being done in business. I mean, not that they haven't been done before, but right now they're really starting to bother me. I'm kind of like, you know what? Can we come up with something new? Can we come up with something else? Or at least just add an up level to the challenge, some sort of something. I don't know. But anyhow, so that's what's tickling me today. But it's okay. I'll be all right. All right. So moving on from that, next segment here is what can happen when you use digital media. So in this edition, in what can happen when you use digital media, we are taking a look at the You Name It challenge. So I know I just talked about the whole challenge thing, but I think I would be remiss if I don't dig in deeper into the You Name It challenge. Okay. What has happened with the You Name It challenge? I don't know if you've seen it, but basically it goes a little something like this. And excuse me, I'm going to try to sing this song. I got beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, legs, so you get hog, moles, chicken, hackers. She goes through this whole thing. And then at the end she goes, you name it. So it's like beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, legs, egg, hog, whatever. You name it. But anyway, that was my you name it. But anyway, so this has gone completely viral and it has just kind of skyrocketed and taken off. I mean, everybody and their mama, and I mean, literally everybody and their mama is on digital, on media, on social media, just singing this song and dancing to it, what have you. Even I've done it. You can go ahead and check it out on my page at Jaw Speaks. But anyway, yes, I have made a fool of myself dancing to that song, but it's all around. It was like perfect timing. Number one. So let's dissect this, okay? Let's just take this apart, right? Because here, as you all know, I'm the president of the Jaw Research Institute. At the Jaw Research Institute, we love to take real world examples and dissect them. So let's dissect this for a moment, shall we? So what has happened with the You Name It challenge is a woman by the name of Shirley Caesar, who is known as like one of the top ladies of gospel, has been a gospel singer for years, has actually been saying this slogan or this saying after her songs for years. but it didn't take off and really skyrocket until it was placed on media, until it was placed on social media. So here's how it happened. The video was taken and recorded during a live session of one of her recordings. One of her members of her congregation, I believe she's a pastor. I wasn't too clear on that. I have to do some more research on that. But she was basically performing this particular song at church. Someone in the congregation recorded her and placed it on YouTube. Okay. Someone else on YouTube saw it and decided, hey, let me remix that. Let me take that song and remix it. So instead of her just saying it, they said it with like a boom, the whole beat, right? They added a beat, the drums, like the whole 9 yards, right? So the song, the beat, remix, and boom, off to the stars, right? It's out of here, right? So she started to receive all of these requests for her to come out and sing the song. Like she has a clothing line. She has merch, okay? Merch around the song. All right. And she has really capitalized on all of this. So that got me to thinking, I created this segment because of that. I created this segment, and this is something I'll be doing along on social media as well as here on the podcast. But that got me to thinking, what can happen when you use a digital platform? What can happen when you use digital media? And this is what can happen. You can start to gain a following. You can start to gain an audience. You can start to make more money. You up level. Right? Because you've gained the attention and quote unquote become a authority leader or an expert or a celebrity, if you will, if you'd like to use that term as well, in your niche. And let's just break it down. I'm going to tell you guys right now, I am not blindsided except for, maybe Nas. Okay. Exception. That's the only person I would probably scream if I met. And then after that, I'll get over it and be like, so how are you? And treat him like a regular person. Anywho, but celebrities are just people that are celebrated. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. They just make a lot more money than the rest of us. Other than that, though, they're just human, right? They can still get sick, so on and so forth. So I digress. With that being said, so I'm looking at Shirley Caesar. I'm like cracking up because I'm loving the song. I'm like, number one, who starts to spill off like different foods that they have? And I just related to it a lot. I'm not sure if it reminded me of my grandma or what have you. I'm not sure. I think it really just drug up memories of my mother. But anyway, it was just hilarious. So with that being said, I started to think about the different ways that we utilize digital media and then how songs have been remixed in the past. So I started to do some research and I found out that, a lot of the famous songs that we love and know of today, even as we get into this interview, you'll hear Kevin and I talk a little bit about the music and the feelings that the music brought up for us. We talk a little bit about all of that good stuff, but I wanted to bring it back to, a lot of the songs that we loved, that we really truthfully listened to and got into, and we're like, wow, those were songs that were remixed. Okay, the original versions were remixed. So songs like Beyonce's Crazy in Love, right? That came from the Chi Lights, Are You My Woman? All right. Songs like Flow Riders, I Got a Good Feeling, yeah. That song came from Etta James, Something's Got a Hold on Me. Songs like even Tupac, right? Tupac's California Love came from Joe Locker's Woman to Woman. Okay, we're talking about some deep, deep stuff here. We're talking about some time lapse, okay? Some time lapse in between these two. For instance, Etta James came out in 1962, Flow Rider, 2011, okay? The Chi Lights came out in 1970, Beyonce, Crazy in Love, 2003. Joe Locker came out in 1972, Tupac, 1996. To cap it all off, and just to come back, because I say their slogan all of the time in this podcast, Warren G's Regulators, okay? We all know this, I think, from Michael Douglas's I Keep Forgetting, okay? Big, big time gap in between these two, right? But the music, nonetheless, still had that rhythm, that beat. And they just took it and they kind of twisted it and made it their own. They kind of repurposed it, right? So to speak. And they utilized that content to make it something new. They took something from old and made it something from new. And I think I talk a lot about that on this podcast. I talk a lot about that on this podcast, how we look at things of old and we take it and then we change it into something of new and we make it brand spanking new again. It's my good friend that I always watch on YouTube here. And I'm losing his name here. But he always says, and I'll find it in just a moment, but he always says that, you know what, there's nothing new under the sun. Everything is just a rendition or an up level from what it was before. And that's what it is. And I totally and utterly believe that. I totally believe that. There is nothing new under the sun. Everything that is done has already been done before. There's just a new way of either looking at it, a new way of utilizing the information or the knowledge, so on and so forth, or an up level to it, right? So with that being said, I definitely want to go ahead and dive into the podcast interview because that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what we talk about during this podcast. We talk about, or during this interview with Kevin, we talk about the different ways that media is used and the different ways that you can use media to create your own content, but then hold the rights over your content. Because each one of the people here that I mentioned before that went through and recreated songs and remixed songs, guess what? They had to go back to the originator and go, can I use this? And that's what you want for yourself. You want to hold those rights and you want someone to come to you and go, hey, is it okay if I, years from now, is it okay if I use your, your beat or your song or your podcast to do X, Y, and Z? Because your content is ultimately what rules, right? Content is king, and he who owns the content, or in my case, she who owns the content owns the world. And I believe that to be true, right? Look at our news channels, look at our newspapers, and so on and so forth. I don't want to bore you with all of that good stuff, but you can definitely check all of that out and relate it as you like. So, with that being said, if you want to know more about me, you can go ahead and go to bit.ly/aboutjaw. And there you'll be able to take a look at, some of my videos about kind of my life and my journey, how I've kind of gotten to this place of doing podcasting, all that good stuff. There's about 2 to 3 videos on there. I'll try to keep it updated as I go along on the journey. And you guys will be able to go in there and take a look at some of the stuff there. So let's go ahead and hop into the podcast here. So today's guest, I got to tell you, Kev hates hip hop but loves content. That is for sure. After speaking with Kev, I think we've kind of come to a mutual agreement that we have a lot in common. And you guys will kind of hear that the interview turns into a bit of just a conversational piece, which is okay. It's all good. That's why it's my podcast, because I can do about his grandmother and how his grandmother basically sat him down with, horror films of all things, right? At a very early age, and explained to him the difference between what was real and what was fake. And I think that stuck with him through the long haul, and that he's been able to utilize that a lot in his own life. So let me read his bio, and then we can go ahead and jump into the interview. I wanted to give you all a warning that my audio on this particular interview is horrible, and I apologize in advance, but this was such great stuff, and there was really some nuggets dropped. I did not want to re-record it, so we're just going to go ahead and work through my heavy breathing on the microphone, and I'm going to apologize if I breathe really loud in your ear. Please forgive me, but do know that this interview is very, very valuable and really packed with a lot of good stuff, and I really wanted to share it with you. So Dr. Myles Munroe is who I was speaking about earlier, who says that there's nothing new under the sun, that everything's already been done. You just are recreating it or placing an up level to it. And I totally believe that to be true. So without further ado, let's go ahead and I will read you Kevin's bio and we'll hop on into the interview. Kevin Robinson Jr. is a serial entrepreneur. He has owned his boutique PR firm, Undercover Third PR, since 2008. He has hosted his podcast, Kevin Hates Hip Hop, since 2014. Also, he owns an online clothing store called Circa 84, and he is launching a music discovery app entitled RPPL Music in Q1 of January 2017. So without further ado, here is Kevin from Kevin Hates Hip Hop Podcast. So he is a PR extraordinaire. Let me just put it out there. He's done a lot in the music world. He creates content with his podcast. And Kevin, tell me a little bit more about what it is that you're up to these days, other than creating the content on your podcast.
Well, I've been working in PR for 8 years. So you're absolutely right. I did do PR primarily in music for a while, but what I've done is I've taken that full-scale business, Uncovered Third PR, full-scale PR business, from doing, taking on PR campaigns and, basically being the person that people came to strictly for PR. Now I offer consulting services. So Uncovered Third, which I'm going to be rebranding to a new name, will be mainly consulting. I offer my course, well, not my course, but my service, the PR Mastery Playbook, which allows me to do one-on-one coaching with my client on how they can do their own publicity. And the reason why that's important is because you could have the greatest restaurant, you could have the greatest album, you could have the greatest film, but if you do not get publicity, it's not going to do anything. And another reason why it's important too is because PR is expensive. It's a really expensive investment. So it would be beneficial to anyone that is looking to invest in themselves, invest in their career, and save money as well, to check out the PR Mastery Playbook, as well as my other service, the Varsity Class, where I show people how to sustain a business. So whether you've owned a business for 10 years or maybe you're looking to start a business, the Varsity Class Consulting, we do one-on-one Skype sessions. You could be anywhere in the world. You could be in China, Japan, Brazil. It doesn't really make a difference. But I'll show you how to establish a business, market, advertise, and show you how to get new clientele, how to sustain. I'll show you how to do all that. So on top of an app that will be coming out Q1 2017. So I'm pretty sure the time this comes out, the app will be out by that time. And in the bio, people will be able to go to it and check it out.
Okay, tell me a little bit more about the app. You said the app is, who's your audience for the app?
It's going to be, without giving it away too much, it's going to be a music app. So
okay.
It's going to be a music app. And the best way I can describe it is it's a music discovery game. So
nice.
It's going to be something along those realms. But like I said, by the time this comes out, it'll definitely be out, and it'll be in the bio of this, this episode. So,
definitely.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've always wanted to work in the tech space.
Gotcha. Okay, that was my next question. Like, what moved you to move from PR to like apps?
Well, with PR, initially, in essence, I started working in music when I was 20. I was interning at Def Jam Records.
Wow.
Yeah, while I was still in college. I went to college at the University of Maryland. I'm originally from the Bay Area, so I started going to school at the University of Maryland.
Yeah.
What was that? A few years, 2003, 2000, something like that. I don't even remember.
Yeah.
But I started interning in 2004. And I wanted to work in music. It was a boyhood dream of mine and shit.
Who in the Bay? Who grows up in the Bay and doesn't want to work in music, right? Like,
that's true. That's true. And let me ask you, can I cuss on here? Because I kind of got a potty mouth. So
I know you do, and try to refrain a tad bit, but feel free to but be yourself. If it slips and it's you, do your thing. No.
Yeah, I always ask that in the beginning because some people, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I wanted to work in music, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wanted to, that was something I wanted to do. I moved back home to the Bay Area in 2007. I started interning at an independent label in the Bay Area in 2007. And I I was a writer, so I was freelance writing for Spin Magazine, San Francisco Weekly,
Okay.
and from there I was like, I don't think I want to be a journalist because I was still trying to figure out like, well, what capacity I want to do this.
Yeah. So what
And
made you leave Def Jam? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but what
well, I
made
was
you leave Def
interning at
Jam?
Def Jam. I was just interning. I didn't work there. I was interning.
Oh, okay, gotcha,
So
gotcha.
yeah,
So it
I
was
was.
just your
It's
benefit. Okay.
like the Def Jam thing sounds beautiful and pretty. Like, oh, you interned at Def Jam? No, I was getting sandwiches and coffee at Def Jam.
Yeah.
That's really what I was doing. I learned. I learned a lot more
Yeah.
working for the independent labels I worked with because it was
Okay.
a lot more hands on. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
really, are you going to trust a 20-year-old kid to handle a campaign for you? Like, no, you're not.
Gotcha.
Um, so, yeah, so, it was like about 2008. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to start doing PR. And I started Uncovered Third PR then, and I've been doing it ever since. But the PR thing, more or less, it was I wanted to work in music, but I always said hip hop is not enough because there was so much other things. There's so many other things I wanted to do outside of music. Music was a good platform for me because it was something I got into. It was cool, um, but one on one, hands on. Always working with artists, always working with management. It's something I didn't want to do for too long. It was cool in my 20s, but now I got bigger things I'm trying to work on. I'm always gonna have some kind of foot in music, but it's gonna be more or less with the app. It's gonna be more or less um, artist acquisition. So I'll be bringing artists in to try out the app. Be an ambassador, a brand ambassador for the app.
Yeah.
Um, but I had much bigger goals and dreams in my life rather than just being the guy that the rap PR dude. I did that
Yeah.
for a long time, and you outgrow it. You outgrow certain things, and I had plans of possibly having an app. I initially was going to do tech PR. We were going to do with my firm. We were going to do PR for other startups,
Yeah.
and it didn't work out. But I always had this inclination that I was going to put something out in the tech space, startup wise. So now I'm a co-founder with three other guys, and we're going to be putting out the app pretty soon. So it's exciting. It's really exciting. I'm
Yeah,
working
no,
on brand new
definitely.
things.
It sounds like it. Sounds like it's going to be a
Yeah.
rush. Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah.
can't wait to see it. I'm a little old school, and I'm a mom of a lot of kids, but I definitely, I have my moments when I'm in the car by myself, and I can listen to whatever it is that I want. And when I do,
Right.
I'm listening to, Jay-Z. I'm listening to Tupac. I'm listening to,
Right.
you know. Who else? I'm trying to think of who else I really listen to a lot constantly. I really truthfully just have really Tupac and Jay-Z on repeat. Um, that's pretty much who I listen to.
Nas is my favorite.
Nas, there
Nas
we
is my
go.
favorite. Yeah.
Yes, Nas is my favorite. And to tell you the truth, I'm not sure. So I have an older car, so we lost the CD. That's why it's Tupac and Jay-Z, because those are the ones I have in my car. But Nas is my absolute favorite. He's actually going to be here in the Area. So this weekend, I'm trying to make it down there. So we'll see if that happens. Okay,
Yeah,
so
it should be cool.
yeah. It's going to be really, really nice. And I definitely want to see him while he's out here. So I'm going to see if I can make it down there. Um, You've talked a little bit about kind of where you went from the PR, because I looked over your PR agency, and it looks like you did a full-scale public relations. You talked about the business development coaching. You talked about red carpet treatment. Or no, you didn't talk about it, but you do that within your PR agency: music publicity, film publicity, and crisis management, and then music video placement on TV. So you did all this good stuff, and you have the podcast now, which is Kevin Hates Hip Hop.
Right.
But
iTunes, Google Play. Check it out.
check it out. Right, plug. Right. So it's all good. And so the name of this podcast episode is actually entitled "Kevin Hates Hip Hop, but Loves Content." So
I dig that.
you love content, because I can see that from your podcast, just listening to some of your episodes. I want to hear from you. What I've noticed looking back over my own life and listening to or watching biographies of others is that there was always a song, a movie, a television show, some piece of content that changed their lives or impacted their life in some way. Can you tell me what your favorite song or film or television show is that either changed your life or impacted your life?
Damn, that's a good question. That's a great question. I've done a lot of podcasts. That's probably one of the best questions I've been asked
Oh,
because
great.
I
I'm glad to hear
thought
it.
about that. Oh, okay. Well, honestly, I have. I don't know if I could narrow it down to one. I think music wise, the one song um that changed my life that made me want to do music was Troy by Pete Rock and CL Smooth. This reminisce over you. That song made me want to work in
Ah.
music.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a kid. Like honestly, like when that came out,
Yeah.
I think I was like 8. I was like 8 years
Yeah.
old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something
So
about that beat. I reminisce. I reminisce. Something about that is just like,
yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
I feel it. I
Yeah.
feel it. Yeah.
That song made me want to work in music.
Mhm.
Let's see. I think movie wise, what changed my life? I would just say that song, but
That
like
one.
album wise,
Mhm.
um, Nas's "I Am" album. It came out in '98. I was '99. I was
Uh-huh.
in ninth grade when it came out, and
Uh-huh.
that's when he became my favorite rapper.
Yeah.
I always tell people like I think I grew up in I was growing up coming of age in the greatest era of American media with
And I'm
TV.
laughing because my husband and I say the same thing.
Yeah, like you
It was
look
the
at
best time. It really
yeah, you
was.
look at like I'm really thinking about it. Like the whole time of me being like from when I was born in '84 all the way to like I
Yeah.
got to college, it was
Yeah.
the best TV, the best films, the best books.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like everything was huge, but then
Monumental.
again,
Yeah.
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
and it's crazy because it's 2016, and I'm like, I listen to like when it comes to majority of music I listen to now. I
Uh-huh.
listen to stuff from when I was like from '97, like it just came out 2 days ago. You know what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
you
Yeah,
feel
that
me? Cause
feeling, that
yeah,
engagement and that rhythm, and so that's why I decided to do Content Legends, was because I found out, I went to a Black Enterprise event. It was actually a technology event, but I ended up meeting like the VP of the company, and we sat down and we talked, and I started to realize that there is so much history. Like he started to talk about like black comic figures that he had made, and all this just good stuff, and different artists that he come in contact with, and their history, and I was like, this is content. I interviewed a
most
guy a
definitely.
couple of on my last podcast, my last show, where he basically stated that media is king, right? Which you hear a lot, but
Yeah,
then he said, he who owns the media owns the world. And I
yeah,
said, you know what? You are so right. If
yep.
you own your own media, if you have your own media outlet, then you own the world. And really, truthfully, it's what drives our behaviors, our actions, our personality, even. Even in my own kids and in myself, back in that era when I used to look at, Atlanta Housewives and stuff, which I don't watch that crap
Mhm.
anymore. But before I knew better, I noticed how I would start to pick up different sayings they were saying, or different
Mhm.
mannerisms and things to that effect. And I started to realize how much that had an effect on me as an individual. And I was like, okay, no.
Right.
So anyway, I digress. That's the whole reason behind the podcast. So you're so right. It definitely has an effect on you. So
Well,
how as I'm sorry, go ahead.
media as a way of controlling your subconscious. Like um,
Exactly. Oh, most
a lot of
definitely.
people. I always talk about all the time. Most people, especially now, like people are so desensitized and they're
Mhm.
bombarded with so much information and content, and a lot of misinformation. Let's be honest. Um,
Definitely.
but you know, when you are desensitized and you're taking on, because you can watch certain TV shows, you can listen to certain music, but if you're not conscious of what you're taking
Hmm.
on and look at it like this is just amusement, this is just entertainment. A lot of
Exactly.
people look at certain things as this is real life. And if you hear the same song 30, 40 times, eventually it's going to get into your subconscious and you're
Yep.
going to start taking on the certain nuances you're hearing in that song, whether you
Hmm.
consciously
Of it
realize
or
it or
not.
not.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's why I've always trying to be, I mean, there's nothing wrong, honestly. If you watch reality every now and then, ain't nothing wrong with it. It's like eating Jack in the Box. Like, if that's what you want to do, that's fine.
Yeah.
But you got to realize that, like for me, I listen to a lot of different stuff. Everything I listen to isn't the most positive or the most, you know what I
Gotcha.
mean?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I do know that this stuff is entertainment. But you're right. Like I listen to certain records and I'll start
Mhm.
saying some of the rap lyrics and like
Exactly.
I can't really relate to what this cat is saying. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? But
Uh-huh. Yeah.
it sounds cool. But you got to
Yeah.
be careful with the media that you consume because it's like food. It's like food. You know what I mean? It's
Exactly. I
food
was
for
just
your
about to
mind.
say that. I was just about to say that. So what I tell my kids and what I tell myself now is that watch what you consume, and it's not only what you put in your mouth, but it's what you want. It's what you visualize. You know, what you
Yep.
catches images, all of that stuff. You know, so I use the whole analogy of, I wouldn't watch porn because, so that's just me. If you guys out there do that as your thing, whatever. But for me, I wouldn't do that because I know in my subconscious that made those images would resurface, and that's why I don't do it. That's why I don't watch horror movies, because I know in my
Really? No
subconscious I
horror,
will
huh?
sit down, no horror, and
No
that's just
American Horror
me.
Story, huh?
No, no, it ain't happening. Not for me.
You know what's
Because
interesting
I know
about
it'll
that?
creep back up, so I don't do it. Go
But
ahead.
you know what's
Sorry.
interesting about it? My grandmother, my mom's mother, is a huge horror fan.
Really?
And yeah, I seen The Shining when I was like 4, like
Oh,
for
wow.
real.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
yeah, and she always taught me like, you know what? Like it's better that you see horror blatantly than it be behind closed doors because a lot of times people would rather not deal with horror.
Mhm.
And horror,
Yeah.
honestly, for me, when I watch horror, I watch American. I just really got into it this year. Like I all
Really?
I watch American Horror Story, horror films, The
Uh-huh.
Shining. I like the older
Wow.
stuff though. I like the stuff from like
Yeah.
the 70s and 80s
Mhm.
because that was the best horror. Was
Great
70s and
content,
80s had the
right?
best
It's
horror.
great content.
Yeah,
It's great
this
quality,
stuff now is
the
garbage.
storyline.
Like
Yeah, the storyline's
yeah,
there.
the horror movies now are garbage. They're not that
Yeah.
good. Most of them aren't that good.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I love horror though.
Yeah,
Horror is
see,
something, and that might be something that I might want to write someday. I might want to put out a
you
horror
should
TV show. You
definitely, you
never know.
definitely should look into it. Like, and that's the whole thing, right? With everything that we have and the technology we have, you can make little mini horror series and make it into a long, make it little episodes, excuse me, and make it into a series. There's different
True,
ways that you can do that, and then
true,
distribute it on your own and hold all your rights to everything that
right.
you produce and you put out there.
And that's the main
Um,
thing I like about this conversation is that
yeah,
the he who owns the media is king, and
exactly,
that's for me.
exactly.
I always want to keep it independent. Like I'd
Hmm.
rather the slow boat to China than go ahead because I've had a lot of podcast networks contact me about going on. Kevin Hates Hip Hop, being a part of their stuff, and I'm like, I'm good. Like, you know what I mean? I'd
Yeah,
rather do this on my
exactly.
own. I'd rather it
Mhm.
take years than go
So
to your
tell the
project and
people
you own my
why.
content.
Tell the people why. I know why, but I want anyone who's listening who may not know why, because I'm not sure. I'm gonna just bring this up, and then I want you to answer that question for me. Have you
Okay.
seen Drink Champs? Drink Champs with Noriega?
I've seen some. I watched some. And Nori, I used to listen to Nori back in the day.
Me
I've seen
too. That was
some
your
of it.
dude, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Nori was
He was a
dope.
dude.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Nori
he
was
was dope.
dope.
Yeah, yeah. He has great people on. He has great guests. He has great stories. Like the podcast is bomb, and he's on
Right.
the CBS network. And I'm like, oh, like
Got
because
that
I can
check.
just, man, you're
But
getting
see,
just
this is the
only a
thing.
piece of what you could, So go
This
ahead. I'm
this
sorry.
is the thing. This is the thing. And this is what I don't understand about now. If you already are reputable, right? You're a
Mhm.
reputable name.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, you don't, and we from the Bay. Like I know
Yeah.
you're from the
Yeah.
Bay too.
Yeah. Exactly.
So we were used to seeing, like I remember seeing Master P in
Yeah.
Oakland
Exactly.
selling CDs out the trunk of his car. You feel me?
Exactly.
In the early '90s.
Yep.
I remember seeing Scarface,
Yep.
the rapper Scarface, in my hood
Mhm.
all the time.
Yep.
But see, the
Yep.
thing is, we come from that independent, do it on your own business model.
Yeah.
Um, there's no reason, if honestly, like, there's no
Yeah.
reason for someone to be that reputable, and it all comes down to being lazy. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think so. I disagree. I
No,
think it all comes down to knowledge and just not knowing.
that's true. That's true.
Just
That's
not
true. That's
knowing. We talked a
that's
little bit
true.
before we started the
That is
interview
true.
about how you wanted to start a podcast way back in, what was it? Oh eight,
2006.
2006, right? But you just didn't know. Like you were like, how does the technology work for this? And I think
Right.
that's the
Right.
same thing with them is that they're just in a place where they're like, I don't know how to do it. So let me just go
No,
to
that's
this place
true.
because they know how to get it out there and do it. And then I'll just bring, then whatever checks I'm getting is checks. But they don't understand the bigger piece of it. They don't understand that you're signing over a piece of your rights. And it's funny because he had Dame Dash, and whether you like Dame Dash or not is
Oh, I
irrelevant
love
for his
Dame.
conversation.
Dame the reason why I wanted to work in music, for real.
I like Dame too, but a lot of people have
Yeah.
so if you're listening and you don't like Dame, it's all good, but I told my husband I definitely, and I'm gonna put it out there because I'm not gonna do it anymore, but I was gonna do shirts with Dame Dash on it to say Dame Dash for president because I just thought it was
That's
hilarious.
dope. You should. I definitely want one, for real.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll go. Maybe I'll edit it out the podcast, and then I'll go ahead and do it. But yeah, so he's basically went on the podcast, and he told him like, dude, you were so busy trying to give away your intellectual property that you didn't understand you're valuable. You didn't understand that these guys are coming after you. So I would tell you to go back and listen to that one with Dave
I haven't
Dash.
heard that one.
Yeah,
I haven't heard that one.
It's really
and,
really
and
good.
the thing is, he had the thing is, like you said, I didn't even realize. But you're right, it is the knowledge because he's at that point where it's like, dude, all you gotta do if you don't understand the technology, get you a young cat, get you a cat that's like 23 who already has a podcast.
Exactly.
Pay him to be your producer. He could do it for you. You can run some Facebook ads, and this is just some game. This is some game right here. Anybody listening, run some Facebook ads, do a little press run, you know what I mean? And he would have been straight. He would have owned everything, 100% across the board. And he gets over 4 million downloads a week.
I know, something crazy. I'm like, and that's what I'm saying. I'm looking at it going dagger in my heart, like.
Yeah.
It's just like, so I've tried to reach out to them with no success, but it's all good. And it may just be haterism on that I'm a female, so it's all good. But since we went to that and went in that direction and you mentioned it, I definitely want you to kind of drill in on the importance of being a producer because I have a network that I have, which is Jessica, your new media producer. It's actually a product, excuse me. Jessica, your new media producer. And I've been having the hardest time trying to communicate to people why they need a producer for their show. So tell me why you use a producer for your show, even if it's yourself.
Well, that's the thing. I know I always say Mr. Producer, this, and this on my show. I am the producer of this show.
I know, I figured that.
I do everything on my own. I think it's important that
I love it. I love it the way it ties in. So it's done very, very well. So I love it.
Thank you. I think it's important because and too, like when I do my show, I do let my girlfriend listen to it sometimes before I put it out, or she'll be sitting in the living room while I'm recording so she can hear everything I'm saying, and she'll be like, maybe you shouldn't say this, or you know what I mean. I think it's just good for quality control. Because sometimes you might say something. And one thing I do with my podcast is I will listen to it before I put it out. I'll listen to it when it's been out for a month. And I'll listen to certain episodes, like, say, for instance, it's almost November now. Well, I won't timestamp it. But it's fall right now. I'll listen to episodes I'll listen to episode from a year previously just to see the progression. Because I want to get better every single time. That's important to me. I want every time I put an episode out for it to mean something. Because I don't, the thing is, a lot of times I look at it like this. If you're doing a podcast or you put out content in general, media, it's either you're informing or you're entertaining. The best mediums can do both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
That leads into my next question, which is a great segue. What is your formula or system to creating legendary content?
I think my formula, honestly, A lot of times what I do is I even before I started my podcast on my own, because like I told you, when I first started it, I was doing it with a buddy of mine, and there was about a 3 month lapse before I put it out. And this is something that I tell people. You should have an Evernote app, whether you use Evernote or whether you use the Notes app on your iPhone, whatever you got. And one way I get topics is based upon having conversations with people. Like, I have a rolling list on my Evernote of over 100 and probably 200 topics I haven't even done yet. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And it's just based upon conversations. Like, think about it. You'll have a conversation with your husband or your daughter or your neighbor, and you'd be like, damn, that's a good topic. You know what I mean? Put it in your Evernote. And the one, I just put one out about vibrational energy.
Yes, I was going to hit on that. So definitely, please tell us about that, because I'm like, I'm so glad I'm speaking to him tomorrow. So
Thank you.
Please hit on that.
It's a pleasure to be on your podcast. So
yes, thanks. Thank you.
I did one on vibrational energy that just came out, and that was actually someone gave me that idea like almost a year and a half ago, and it was just sitting in my list. And sometimes when I do my podcast, I look through my list. I'm like, which one do I feel like today?
Gotcha.
And I do I try to. I like to be, honestly, because for me the podcast is gonna lead into something grander. I want to do keynote speaking at some point. You know what I mean? So
I think you're ready now. Yeah. I think you're ready now.
Yeah, I do too.
I'm working. I love it.
Yeah, I just honestly I like doing a podcast because it's helping me speak better. You know what I mean? I like doing it. It's helping me speak better, and I do it by myself. I don't have my podcast. I don't have anybody. I don't have a co-host. I don't have any of that. So, but no, I keep a rolling list of topics. So you might even anyone listening, you might be an artist. You might be a visual artist. You might be a director, or an author. Another thing I do too is if you are a writer and something just hits your head, like, oh, that's a dope lyric, or oh, that'd be a cool segue into something, just write it down, put it in your Evernote, just so you have it.
Nice. I like that tip.
I'm a content junkie though. Like I'm a content junkie.
Yeah, me too. I'm the same way. Sometimes I'm so busy learning that I forget to implement because I'm so busy. Oh, this is something else. This is something else. Oh, I can learn this. So definitely. That's why I've
learned to be more organized over the years. Though I used to be the type. My girlfriend is super detailed.
Is that right? Yeah.
Like
about having your life in her Evernote.
Oh man, her Evernote. She's got like everything that she wants to do creatively on one list, everything she needs to do professionally on one list, and it's gotten me to the point now where I've learned to be better with my Evernote. And if you don't know what Evernote is, if you're listening, Evernote is basically like an online notebook.
Exactly. Yep.
And it syncs to all your devices, your laptop, your tablet, your phone. If you're a professional person or you're a creative, if you're a creative, even if you're not a creative, you want to organize your life more, I suggest you use it.
So if you know about Google Docs, just to add on what Kevin said, if you know about Google Docs, it's basically like Google Docs, but for your phone and for every other tablet, which you know how Google Docs can pretty much follow you everywhere. But Evernote has a couple of different nuances and other little perks and tools and things to that effect that you can also use. So definitely you might want to check that out if that appeals to you. So moving on to the next question.
Google Docs, Google Drive. I've actually you can actually run a complete, if you don't, if you're running a business now and you want to have it a much more easier form, you can run everything on Google Drive.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yep. You can run a whole, and I said I was going to do a YouTube video about that, about all the things you can basically just start your business by just only with Google Docs. Like you can have a full
Google Docs, Google Drive, you're good to go.
Yeah. Okay, so that kind of moves us into entrepreneurship. When did you know you will become an entrepreneur? Why not work for someone else?
Good question. I've never been asked that before either. That's interesting.
Huh.
You would think, right?
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship for me, it was. I think what it was is I remember going to my mom's bring your kid to school day, right?
Mhm.
Bring your kid to work day. I think I was like 7, and my mom worked at Stanford Hospital at the time, and I think she was doing I think she was accountant or something, but she was in a cubicle all day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was bored. I was extremely bored, and I told her, I said, I'm never, and she always reminds me of this. And it's the only reason I remember this. She said, she said, you said you would never work for anybody else. You said,
Wow.
and because I told her, she said at the time, she was like, Mom, I was like, Mom, this is boring. I'm not going to work for anybody. And she said, I said that when I was like 7, 8 years old, and I've stuck with it.
Wow.
And
That is amazing. Uh-huh.
my dad too. My dad is always my dad, and I guess you could say it's just run through my family. My dad owns a business. My dad's always had businesses. He owns a indoor kids amusement park. Uh, they have like the bouncy jumpers and
Uh-huh.
all those
Yeah.
type of things. It's
Uh-huh.
called Bouncy Pouncy. It's in up near Sacramento. They're actually looking for a new location right now.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
my
Okay.
my and back in one of the first things I got from him was he used to do wholesale and retail. So we would get things wholesale and sell them to stores and stuff like that.
Wow.
So I got a knack for hustle from that. And then my uncle, my dad's brother, he owns a towing company, Orange and White Towing. He just
Huh.
launched it in the last few months. He worked at Stanford for a while, and he got tired of working for someone else. I always look at it like this: being an entrepreneur is definitely not for everybody. It's not. It's very. It can be very stressful.
Yeah.
It can be very heartbreaking, but I'd much rather work on my dream than someone else's.
Wow. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Well, I'm definitely going to have to check out your dad's service because I have a lot of kids. And I actually wanted to open up something like that, but then I got bitten by the online bug. So I do more online
There's
work.
nothing wrong with online, honestly. Like brick and mortar is hard. Brick and
Yeah.
mortar is,
Yeah.
man,
And I see it starting to fade a tad bit, but I think if you
yeah.
have something for kids and children, I think that will actually always stay around because parents are always looking for a place to take their kids where they can just kind of
Oh
sit
yeah.
and their kids are playing. Okay,
Kids
so
are the best business. Honestly, like I
yeah.
have plans for that too. Like any business within kids,
Hmm.
and kids are all pretty much. It's like once someone turns around 12, 13, that's when their personality kicks in. But
Yeah.
like they start getting
You're
finicky. You know what I
absolutely
mean?
correct.
But
Oh no, you're
if you
correct.
do
I call it the
something,
12-12 curse. So the 12 at 12
yeah.
midnight on their 12th birthday, they turn into a monster.
But like if you catch them from birth to like 11, oh
Uh-huh.
man. And most
Yeah.
kids all like the same things for the most part. Most kids like the same things.
Yep, you're
So
right. You're
if you
absolutely.
can if you can get
I have
something that the
six,
majority of
so
kids
I
like, you're
get it.
good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have six of them, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Definitely.
Right.
Okay, so tell me something that we've talked about like everything you're good at, but tell me something that you are definitely not good at and that you like to
Okay.
delegate to others.
I don't like networking. As far as
Oh,
if I go
really?
on to networking events, no,
Hmm.
I don't.
Wow.
And the thing is I don't mind. I don't like networking events. I'm not the type of person that wants to go to a networking event and
Hmm.
pass out my business card. It's not my thing.
Wow.
But the co-founders of the app that I'm working with,
Hmm.
they're good at that. They love that. They like doing all that stuff.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
I won't have to be going to those conference.
Mhm.
I don't really like conferences and all that unless I get like a keynote speaking event or something like that. I'll do it, but I don't really like um I don't really like networking events. I wouldn't say networking
What turns you off
in
about them?
general.
What is it that turns you
I just
off?
feel like I get a lot more done, and it's gonna sound crazy, but I feel like the people that I meet networking on some spur of the moment. Like I meet somebody while I'm at the bar and I'm having a beer, and somebody's like, "Hey, dude, I do this," and oh, okay, cool, and then you catch up with them. I like the old school approach. I don't really dig the
Ah,
whole conference. Let's get
gotcha.
1,000 of the same type of people here, and they
Yeah.
pay $200 to be here, and that's not really my thing. You know what I
Gotcha.
mean?
Yeah.
Or two, like some of the most genuine people I've ever met were based upon some content that, or they were based upon me meeting them, through Twitter or Facebook or whatever. I've made some really good friends of people I met offline, and then I meet them in person, and they're super cool. But like the whole networking thing, I just don't dig it. I don't dig it, and it's weird because you wouldn't think so, because I like I dig people. I like chopping it up with people, but I just don't.
You're in PR, so you would think.
Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, but see, that's the thing. Like, I'm not necessarily gonna be in PR like I was. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So
Gotcha.
I'm doing PR consulting now. I wouldn't consider myself a publicist anymore. Like, I'm
Gotcha.
not, because I feel like this. I feel like my content is good, and I feel like I'm working on good stuff with good people.
Yeah.
And I've had some clients where their stuff was very mediocre, and I made them look really good through the press I got them. I just got tired of that. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So, I'd rather be a cheerleader for my content than someone else's.
Oh, nice. And I was just about to ask you, okay, we'll do a name drop of some of the plays, but now that you said that, we'll leave that alone. What are your thoughts? This is my second to last question.
Okay.
What are your thoughts about how your content is changing the world?
Oh, wow. That's a good one.
Well, it's supposed to be content legends, right? Brilliant content.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do.
One thing that I do is I always, I was taught this, and it can be a double-edged sword. I downplay what I do. I try to downplay what I do. I never necessarily think that I'm changing the world with what I'm doing, but a lot of times I got to realize that when I'm recording, my podcast, and a lot of it is raw. A lot of it is very raw material. A lot of stuff that I had possibly went through. And one thing I always said at the end of the podcast is this is a diary of a young black savage. Because in essence, every episode.
Say it, yes. I was going to ask that next. That was going to be the end.
Oh, okay.
It's all good.
We ask me that question, and I'll incorporate it in this one. We can put them.
It's all good. No, it's totally fine. It totally flows. And I'm actually going to leave this in because it's so funny. Because that's what I was going to say for you. I was going to actually say, so your outro is, you think you know, but you have no idea. This is the story of a savage. Is it Young Black Savage or is it Savage?
This is a story. This is a diary of a young black savage.
Diary of a young black savage. And then I was going to say dig it, because you always say dig it as well. Oh my gosh. But that's pretty awesome. I love it. And you actually said dig it during the thing, so that really during the interview, so that really brought up the fact that you are authentic and that you really do say dig it in your real world.
Yeah, I didn't even realize. That's just something I picked up on because I used to watch when I was in high school. They used to have MTV Diary, and that was one thing they always said. You think you know, but you have no idea. This is the diary of whoever it was. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I remember that.
Right, and I was like, that sounds dope. So, but every episode I do, like when I do it, I initially do it for myself because I really feel like it is a journal entry.
Okay. Wow.
Because it's helping. It's not only helping, it's helping me, but then I grew to realize like it's helping a lot of people. Sometimes I do the podcast and I don't think anybody. Sometimes I do it and I think like, man, maybe this ain't really helping nobody. But then I'll get like 4 or 5 emails. Hey man, this really helped me from this position, and I'm like, damn, and it makes it worthwhile. You know what I'm saying? Like when you put yourself out there and it helps somebody else, like that makes me feel good about what I'm doing. And I think that it's become very therapeutic for me, like doing a podcast. It's become very therapeutic. And it's become something that I like that I'm documented. So even 100 years from now, like anybody that comes from my lineage will be like, oh, my great-great-grandfather did this. This is how he sounded when he first started this business. Because in essence, I'm trying to create generational wealth. I want
Exactly.
my great grandkids to listen to Kevin Hates Hip Hop in 21, 22 and be like,
Yeah.
my grandfather was a savage, man, when he was 30. You know what I mean? And he was cool
Uh-huh.
though, like, you know, he was working on his business and he was going through the same thing I'm going through, just so that
Exactly.
it'd be somewhat of a blueprint to help somebody. Because I, in essence, try to do every episode. Like, I know a lot of people will be like, "Oh, hip hop podcast," and then they'll listen and be like, "Oh, man, this ain't what I thought it was gonna be," and that's what I want it to be. I want
Exactly.
anybody of any walk of life at any time in this world can relate to at least one or two podcasts.
Yeah, I love it. And so it's all about creating a legacy. And that's exactly why I wanted to do Content Legends, is because I wanted to really emphasize and bring to the forefront the importance, like I told you before, of having your own platform and having your own media outlet. And you've definitely done that. So it's so funny that you said that you weren't able to answer that question about how your content is changing the world, but in essence, you came right back around and you did. The way that you're changing the world is with every journal entry, which is your episodes of your podcast, and the way that it'll affect the future of your, not only your life and your offspring, but the lives of others around the world. And the
Right.
emails are definitely a confirmation of that. So
Oh,
thank you
they
so
are.
much, Kevin. Yeah, no, and they definitely are. And I'm so happy that I was able to come in contact with you. I really, truthfully, I'm a big girl of faith. I believe in God and all that good stuff. So I definitely believe I don't come in contact with anyone for no reason. There's
Right.
always a reason behind it. So I am so happy that I came across your podcast and that we were able to do
Thank
this
you.
today. So thank you so much. So tell the people where they can find you. We kind of talked about your podcast a lot, so they know you have a podcast, but
Right.
tell them where they can find you.
Okay. Very simple. Check out the podcast Kevin Hates Hip Hop on iTunes with Google Play. Um, but as far as with Twitter, I'm at Kev, Kev Hates Hip Hop, Facebook.com/Kevin Hates Hip Hop. Instagram, Kevin Hates Hip Hop. Simple. Very simple to find me.
Awesome, awesome. Now, are you still doing the cooking shows? I know you said something about cooking shows before.
Oh, cooking with a savage. Yeah.
Cooking with a
Yeah,
Savage.
that's coming. That's coming. I'm working
Awesome.
on a lot,
A
a
lot
lot, lot of
of
stuff.
I
Lot of
think it's a
stuff.
big thing. I think it was like all of those Chevron spills or something like got into us, and we and we just like,
Yeah.
oh, I can do everything and do it all at once.
I
All
have
right.
so many things that I'm working on that I have to break it down by the year. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like I gotta be like, I gotta work on this year. The next year I can work
exactly.
on this. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, no, definitely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kevin, for being on with us, and I look forward to seeing everything that you produce and what you come up with. You definitely are a content legend. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
thank you.
All right, guys, that was another brilliant content interview with our very own Kevin Robinson. And, my takeaways from this episode are very much, how can I say this in the right way? Number one, we just got so much information. We got so much value from Kevin being here on the podcast with me. He really should have charged me for that podcast. I'm glad he didn't, but he provided so much value and so much information. I'm very, very grateful for being able to partake in this interview with him. I think one of the many takeaways that I have from this particular podcast is that we have to be authentic. We have to show up as ourselves, and that we need to really make sure that we pay attention to who we are and really bring that element of who we are into our work. So that's number one. And to always just love who you are, of course, above all else. Then number two, the second piece to that, the up level to that, is that we need to also ensure that our stories are being told within our content. I think so often as content creators, we're out there, we're creating all of this content, we're creating all of this media, and we're so excited, and we're like, yeah, 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 we're in our Evernotes and all that good stuff, but we aren't telling the story behind it, which I think Kevin does a wonderful job of explaining explaining very detailed and giving very detailed information on his podcast, as well as within his interviews, and sharing his story and sharing his back roads and everything that's kind of going on with him, whether it's a failure or whether it's something that's extraordinary and great. He comes in and he tells it like it is, and he's not afraid to. He's not afraid to say, certain things. He's not afraid to say, I'm addicted to content. I'm a content junkie. Hand is raised here. If you could see my hand, it is raised. I am a content junkie as well. There needs to be like a secret society for us or something. Now, maybe not a secret society, but like a place where we can all go and just binge out on content, or, just all not watch content or something. I don't know, shut ourselves off from the outside world and have our phones taken away. I don't know. Anyhow, we are, content creators. And as a content creator, you're always learning, and you're always, like Kevin explained, we're always trying to get better. And that's my third takeaway, is to always look to improve. Even if I think I've reached a height, which I certainly have not, but if I think that I've reached a certain, level above anything else, I know that there's always more that I could be doing to learn more, to get better, to, enhance my skills. And yes, I am definitely moving forward with sending my shirt idea to Dame Dash. Funny thing, I've tried to contact him on Twitter and he hasn't responded to my DM. Anywho, if any of you know Dame Dash and can connect us, then I'll give you a percentage of the profits. Just let him know that I have a content idea as well as some merch ideas, right? So if you can connect that together, then we are all in the door. So don't steal my idea. Just go ahead and help a sister out and we can partner. So with that being said, Dame Dash for president. Let's go. Go ahead and subscribe to this podcast on iTunes. Go ahead and leave us a review there as well. It will help us kind of meet the ranks and help us go ahead and move over to the first page. I would definitely love to see Content Legends hit the first page and become legendary, right? Become legendary in the iTunes market for having a awesome podcast. Today's podcast is actually sponsored by none other than myself. Want any information about my services, about my consulting, about my tech help support desk, you can go ahead and go to the jawresearchinstitute.com, find out more information about the services there. You can also subscribe while you're there to our list, and you'll be able to get all of the goodies that I send out to all of my email subscribers, which has the tech information. It has the inspiration, the motivation, the content, right? To get the updates on when we have guests for our podcast, and also to interact with me and to speak back and forth with me. You can do that as well. We have a weekly group that comes together, which is called our Virtual Co, where you can come in. It's a co-working space. You come in, you sit down, you're on your computer. We are all virtually in one place at one time. So it's a human connection online just for you. If you're interested, go ahead and visit the jawresearchinstitute.com. You can also go to bit.ly/IamLegendary, and you can go ahead and visit our site there. All right. So that's pretty much the end. And this is the end for me. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed this episode of Content Legends. Get out there and make something legendary. Wishing you wellness in life and in business. Jessica Walker. Talk to you soon. Also known as Jaw. Bye.